Okay guys, here is a series of stretches that you can do whenever you finish a workout that has lower body movements in them. After a warm-up, you can do this at the end of the day before you go to sleep. Make sure that your hips and your back and everything is nice and relaxed before you get to rest for the night. And generally speaking, you want to make sure that you stretch after all of the workouts that you do, because it will help you with recovery. It will make your muscle tone appear more appealing, actually, because it helps to release some of the muscle tissue that is tense and tight, and usually from working out and dehydration and sitting too long. So don't skip past the stretches is the point, really. People generally want to avoid them because they think they're pointless or that they're boring or what have you, but they're an important aspect of the workout. So I'm going to show you a series of stretches here that you can do anytime that you like, and all you really need is some space on the floor. Next movement that we're going to do, the next stretch that we're going to do is for your calves. So calves are super important to stretch because when you're walking, when you're sitting, when you're standing, being used constantly, and they happen to be very tight, especially in women because they wear heels, and they will hinder your movement, especially in a movement like a squat. They won't allow you to come up and down properly the way that you should. So as you're learning how to use these movements, if you find that you really struggle with your squats a lot, the calves could be one of the reasons why you're not able to move properly. So a super simple calf stretch is you putting your foot up against the wall. I'm sure you've seen this before, but I see people doing it incorrectly all the time. So get your foot up as high as you can, and then kind of push up your other foot in order to put weight against this. So what I see most people doing is this. They're not really actually stretching their calf. So get your foot up, put some weight into it, and I can feel that right away. It's super intense. So just take a couple of deep breaths. After you finish stretching on the side, take a second, shake it out, and then move over to the other side. Make sure to get your foot up high. 20 to 30 seconds for the stretch to be effective. Breathe in. The next stretch that we're going to do is a variation on a movement that we do, which is the lunge. And the lunge is really good even as an exercise in opening up the hips because of the depth that you have to go into with your leg. And when you slow that down and kind of stop the movement, it makes it for a fantastic stretch. So I'm already kind of in lunge position here. I'm just with standing or sitting on one knee. And what you want to do is kind of come down and to one knee and keep this knee to the outside. My knee hasn't touched the ground yet, so I'm getting a really deep stretch here. And then it gets a little hard to maintain that for a long period of time. So you can set your knee down and keep pushing your weight forward into your hip. You should get a nice stretch through there. You're going to feel that really intensely in the front of your hip here. So with all of those types of stretches, always take your time, breathe, allow the hip to open up and don't force anything. Stretches should always be felt, but they should never be painful. So these types of things, make sure that you take your time with it. So again, I'm going to come back up here and slowly come down. Hold for a second here. Set the knee down. And I'm using this here as just for balance. You can do it without it, it's not a problem. But just because I'm talking and I'm not so focused on the movement as much as I should be, this helps keep you stable. So you can use that at home or in the gym if you're not feeling comfortable in coming down and maintaining that lunge position for a second. Nice deep stretch through there. Remember to breathe. Come back to center, and that's it. Our next stretch is a really popular stretch, with runners, because it's really good at stretching the outer glutes. This is something that gets really tight when you're doing a lot of impact cardio. And this is also something that gets really tight on people that sit a lot. So the figure 4 is named that because it kind of looks like the number 4. You're on the floor flat, feet are up next to you. You're going to take one foot and put it on your knee. And so for this move to be really efficient, I see a lot of people doing this, which doesn't really target the right muscle. What you want to have is your foot on top of your knee and a little bit of an angle out. So you're taking your leg and going in this direction. Once you kind of have it positioned the way that you want, lift this foot up off the ground and start pushing this leg towards you. And that immediately will activate this stretch on the side. So make sure you can make it more intense. If you can bring it towards you, you put your hands in behind here. Remember that the foot is supposed to be on the knee, not here. It's not the same. As soon as I do this, I lose the intensity of the stretch. Bring it out. Give this a little push out this way. And pull this in towards you. Remember to breathe. And on every breath out, if you can, bring that knee in a little tighter, and you're going to keep getting further and further into that exterior glute and outer hip part. Okay? Keep breathing. Hold it there for about 20 seconds or so, and then switch sides. Remember that the most important part right now is your foot on the knee, not across. I can't stress that enough. People, they think that they're paying attention to certain little details like that, but subconsciously they do what's easiest, which is this. So foot on knee, hands in behind your your thigh on this side. Give this a little push outward and bring this towards you. Again, nice deep stretch. When you're breathing in and out in a stretch, each time you breathe out, you can make things a little bit more intense because you're loosening the muscle. So, giving myself a little tug in each time, and I'm really feeling that on the outer hip. Come down slowly, sit both feet down. And make sure to take a second before you get up, because with all that deep breathing, sometimes you can get a little dizzy. The stretch we're going to do right now is a prone stretch, meaning that you're flat on the floor. And this is something that's excellent for your lower back and as well to stretch the exterior glute here. And all you need to do is lay flat. We're going to take one of your legs up. Take your hand to guide the knee. And very gently, again, for those of you that are super tight, this might be intense right away. You should feel it across here when you first start the movement. And your hand is gently going to take your knee and your hip across with the goal of trying to get your knee to touch the floor. This arm is going to lay out and away from you. This stretches your chest. And this part, the more you get the knee down towards the floor, the more you're getting a stretch in your lower back. So try to get it down here. So right now I'm feeling a nice little stretch through here in the lower back as well as my chest. And then turn and look in the same direction that your arm is facing. And then take a few seconds. Remember, stretches should be about 20 to 30 seconds in order to be really effective. And just breathe. And each time you breathe out, try to get a little further into the stretch. So I'm trying to straighten my bottom leg here out a little bit more to get some more depth into the lower back and really get a nice stretch through there. And then come back very slowly and relaxed to center so that you can move on to the other side. So I'm having a hard time getting it all the way across, but it makes for a nice intense stretch. Come back nice and slow, center, and just relax for a second before you get back up. All right, so the first move I'm going to show you guys is called a pigeon. It's a yoga move actually, and it's amazing for opening up the hips. So the front part of your hips here, which is usually very tight from sitting, and it can be quite intense, especially if you've never done it before and you're super tight. A lot of people find as soon as they get into position that it's very, it should never be painful, but that they can feel an intense stretch right away. So take your time, ease into it. You can start from the floor here in a push-up position. You don't have to actually physically push up, but just get your body up off the floor. Bring your front leg in front of you as far as you can. It may not be that easy in the beginning when you're new to this. And then work on bringing this side, the hip down to the floor as much as you can, and extending this leg back as far as you can go. So you'll see here that I'm getting into it fairly easily. I've been doing this for a long time, but you may not be able to get all the way down. A lot of people find that they get stuck here because it's too intense. Just hang out there for a second, take a deep breath, and let it come down slowly but surely. If you want to make it even more intense, slowly start to walk your arms forward. And make sure that this foot is out of the way of this hip. What I see a lot of people do when they first try to do this, because they can't get their leg up, they get stuck here and they sit on it. Don't do that. Just move it up gently, get it out of the way. And ideally what you want to be able to do is have your hips squared. This side of the hip is on the floor. And you forward, come down into as far as you can. Get back into the bottom position, into the push-up here. Come up, bring that leg forward again, and slowly come down. So this is what it looks like from the other side. You have to bring this, so this is my tighter side. This side doesn't move as well as this one does. So when I try to bring it down, it's much harder for me to keep my hip squared, or much harder for me to actually set the hip down. So just take my time with it. Make sure to breathe throughout the process. And again, walk yourself forward slowly. Remember to always stay in all of your stretches for a minimum of 20 to 30 seconds for them to be effective. And from there, let's move on to the next one.